Hey everybody, welcome to Crack Pack Tuesday number 44 on the Mana Leak. I'm John as always, and we've got another pack of Oath of the Gatewatch here that hopefully will be better than that travesty of a pack that we had last week. Hopefully there is no Call of the Gatewatch sitting at the back of this pack. But we're going to open this pack up, see what's in it, and see what we would take pack one, pick one if this was a draft. There we go. Up first, we have a Searing Light. Searing Light is a single white mana for an instant. It says, destroy target attacking or blocking creature with power 2 or less. Solid card. Totally fine solid card. There's an awful lot of things that are going to be attacking or blocking that have power 2 or less. They might be super aggressive 2/1s. They might be super defensive 1/4s or 0/6s. This gets a lot of use. It's probably not quite first pickable. But based on some of the packs that I've been seeing, it could very well be first pickable in most pack or in many packs. Let's not be so pessimistic as to say most packs, but hopefully not in this pack first pickable. Next up, we have a Negate. Negate is 1 and a blue for an instant counter target non-creature spell. Significantly worse in draft. Totally fine in sealed. You can play these in sealed main deck. Don't ever main deck these in draft. It's just a dumb idea. There's so few non-creature spells in your average deck that you're going to hit basically nothing or nothing that matters. If you've seen a planeswalker on the opponent's side of the battlefield or some super important enchantment or piece of equipment or something or ton of removal or whatever, sure, go for this. But otherwise, keep this in the sideboard and don't pick this very highly at all. Next up, we have Spark Mage's Gambit. Spark Mage's Gambit is 1 and a red for a sorcery. Spark Mage's Gambit deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures can't block this turn. Fine enough in an aggressive deck. Fine enough to take out of the sideboard if you see some X1s that you want to deal with pretty easily. But generally, you want to keep this in the sideboard. I wouldn't be too upset main decking this as a 23rd card, but I also wouldn't be overly happy with it. Don't pick this highly and play it only if you need to. Generally, there's so many other cards that you could play over this and be much happier with. Next up, we have Elemental Uprising. Elemental Uprising is 1 and a green for an instant. Target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with haste until end of turn. It's still a land. It must be blocked this turn if able. Totally okay on turn 3. You can get in for 4 damage usually. However, I wouldn't necessarily play a card that says deal 4 damage to a target opponent. It's just not that good. Consuming Sinkhole, not a playable card. The fact that this is at instant speed means that you can get a surprise blocker out of it. There is some stuff that you can do with it, but making your lands vulnerable is dangerous. You know, we learned that a little bit with Awaken, but Awaken was so much better than just turning a creature into a land like this does and some of the other cards do. So you want to be careful with those lands. If you do cast this, on turn 3, you do leave yourself open to being just completely destroyed in the mana base department. So be careful with Elemental Uprising. I'm not a huge fan of it yet. I know some people are, but it's just not me. Next up, we have Skye Scourer. Skye Scourer is 1 and a black for a creature Eldrazi Drone. It's a 1/2. It has Devoid. It has Flying. And whenever you cast a colorless spell, Skye Scourer gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Totally fine. Totally serviceable. Obviously very good in the Grixis Devoid deck or even the Black-Red Devoid deck. You'll get in for a fair bit of damage with this. 1/2 flyers are okay, especially when they become bigger. The fact that this will somewhat regularly, assuming you build your deck properly, be a 2/2 flyer for 2 is just really, really solid. Make sure that you are relatively colorless. If you're black-white life gain, this probably isn't going to do too much good for you. It'll go from being a totally fine, obvious include to being kind of a 23rd card. Still playable, but less excitingly so, but not first pickable. Next up, we have Hedhryn Crawler. Hedhryn Crawler is 2 generic mana for an artifact creature construct. It's an 0/1. Tap, add colorless mana to your mana pool. This card is great. So many people look at this and say, well, it's colorless mana. I don't want it. It's not that good. It's an 0/1. This is, not quite Birds of Paradise because it doesn't tap for any color. In fact, it taps for no color. But I mean, remember back to the fact that we would first pick Golden Hind in Journey into Nyx or Born of the Gods or whatever it was. That was a 2/1, so you could attack with it, but I don't know if anybody ever really attacked with Golden Hind. And it was a 2 mana creature that tapped for a mana. this ramps you. This ramps you really fast and really early. I would play this in a deck that doesn't have colorless mana. If I had some things that I wanted to ramp out to, if I had 6 drops or 7 drops or 8 drops, this is a solid card, and it is first pickable. It's first pickable in weaker-ish packs, but it is absolutely first pickable. Hopefully people are starting to realize how good this card is, because it is really solid. Well, this trumps that, unfortunately. Oblivion Strike. Oblivion Strike is 3 and a black for a sorcery. It has Devoid. Exile target creature. Oblivion Strike is not even probably. I would say Oblivion Strike just flat out is the first pickable card above all other non-rares. Absolutely. There's no other common or uncommon that you would ever take over Oblivion Strike. Pack one, pick one anyways. Just absolutely incredible card. Such efficient removal. Efficient removal that we've never seen at common for years. Since the days of Doomblade. Super solid. Obviously, yeah, it'd be better if it was cheaper. Yeah, it'd be better if it was instant. It's still incredibly good. Oblivion Strike, possibly the first pick of the pack. Stalking Drone, 1 and a green for a creature Eldrazi Drone. It's a 2/2. It has Devoid. For a colorless mana, Stalking Drone gets +1/+2 until end of turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. It's a bear. It's a 2/2 for 2 with an upside. If you have colorless, which hopefully you do, you can make this a little bit better than a bear. Slightly more defensive in that it becomes a 3/4 as opposed to becoming a 4/4. It's not quite the Basilisk that I can't think of its name at the moment. I think it's a Basilisk. Maybe it's something else entirely. But yeah, it's a fine card. It's just above filler. Not first pickable, though. Next up, we have Goblin Freerunner. Goblin Freerunner is 3 and a red for a creature Goblin Warrior ally. It's a 3/2. It has Surge for 1 and a red, and it has Menace. It's fine. If you Surge it, cool, but Surging this means that you're probably looking at playing at turn 5, 6, 7, at which point a 3/2 becomes a lot less good. It is a 3/2 Menace, which is fine, but it's slightly overcosted for the aggressive decks that want to kind of get this out. If you can Surge it reliably, sure, but Surging reliably is just not something that happens all that often in draft. In Two-Headed Giant, yeah, Surge is incredible. In fact, I would say Surge is broken in Two-Headed Giant, the way some things are costed. But in one-on-one draft, this just is filler, slightly above filler, I would say. Not first pickable. Next up, we have a Waste. Waste says tap out of colorless mana. We know what Waste does. Never, ever, ever first pickable. But if you need it, you need it. But remember, there are a billion better things than Waste out there to make generic mana. Colorless mana. Wastes are kind of the last choice for colorless mana. So, Waste's cool. On to the uncommons. We've got ourselves a Relief Captain. Relief Captain is 2 white for a creature, core, knight, ally. It's a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, support 3. Supporting 3 for only 4 mana with a 3/2 is really good. Really, really, really good. Getting even support 1 off of this probably makes this fine. Support 2 makes this quite good. Getting the full support 3 makes this thing just incredibly good. Super solid pick. I would consider first picking this in some packs for sure. The white hurts it a little bit, but not enough for me to really be too down on it. Next up, we've got Bailoff Pup. Bailoff Pup is 1 and a green for a creature beast. It's a 3/1. Bailoff Pup has trample as long as it has a +1/+1 counter on it. 3/1 for 2, totally fine. Getting a counter on this, a little bit tricky. You obviously want to be playing some support, at which point this becomes a little bit more fine, but still super weak. By the time you get a support counter on this, your opponent's probably going to have ways to just deal with it. So I'm not too sold on Bailoff Pup. I know a lot of people at the beginning were super high on this card. I think it's fine. I think it's an auto-include in green decks, but I don't think you want to, stumble over yourself to pick this up or to play, too many of these. The final uncommon is Warping Whale. For 1 and a colorless, you get an instant that does exile target creature with power or toughness 1 or less, or it counters target sorcery spell, or it makes a Scion. Making a Scion, terrible. I don't want to spend 2 mana on a card to do that. Countering target sorcery spell, terrible. Don't ever try to play that card in draft. Exiling target creature with power or toughness 1 or less, that's where it becomes good. This can kill things like Wall of Resurgence and Vampire Envoy and Bailoff Pup and a bunch of things this can hit. However, you don't know your opponent's going to have viable targets for this. So I don't know that you ever want to main deck this card. I think you sideboard it in when you do see one of those 1 power or 1 toughness creatures that is going to cause you some trouble. Not a big fan of Warping Whale. Yeah, it has constructed viability for sure, but in limited, just not a big fan. The rare is Oath of Gideon. Slightly better than Call of the Gatewatch, but not by much. 2 and a white for a legendary enchantment. When Oath of Gideon enters the battlefield, put 2/1/1 white core ally creature tokens onto the battlefield. Each planeswalker you control enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it. That doesn't matter. That's flavor text in limited. So yeah, you get 2 white core allies for 3 mana. Big whoop. 1/1s don't do anything for me. 2 of them, big whoop. They need to have flying. They need to have something going on. They're allies, which I guess helps with cohort a little bit, but there are so many allies kicking around in this format that, you know, I could get a 2/2 for 2. Why do I want a 2/2 spread across 2 bodies for 3? So, terrible card. You should never first pick Oath of Gideon, and I personally don't think you should ever really play it. I don't think it's very good. Maybe if you have just a ridiculous amount of rally triggers, 3 Calastria healers, something like that. But otherwise, not a fan of it. No foil, nothing else. So this pack is, let's go through the motions. I'm looking at Relief Captain. It's pretty good. I'm also looking at possibly the Hedhryn Crawler. But realistically, I'm only looking at the Oblivion Strike. The Oblivion Strike is hands down the first pick card here. It is just so good. You're never going to see a card better than that at common in this format. First pickable above, I would say, every single other common and uncommon in the entire set for pack 1, pick 1. So Oblivion Strike, easy first pick there. Let me know if you agree. Let me know, would you have taken the Oblivion Strike? Would you have taken the Captain, the Crawler, the Oath, the Wastes, or would you have just taken the Oblivion Strike? And if not, why? Let me know in the comments down below. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at The Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. And you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/The Mana Leak. You've already found me here on YouTube. You've got the comment section down below. Please make use of that. As well, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe. Click that little thumbs up icon. Click that subscribe button. That way you'll always know about the latest Crack-A-Pack Tuesdays, Wacky Wednesdays, Spiky Saturdays, Top 10 Thursdays, and all the other videos that pop up here and or there. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all next time.